Hey guys, Alec, Peirce, Scuba Tech Tips at Adventure Sports, a great little dive story here in Newmarket, Ontario. This is a regulator. Today I want to talk for just 1 minute, maybe two, about the second stage only. Because it's the second stage. And I've touched on this subject before, and I've had guys question me about it, and I love the questions. Keep them coming, the questions and comments. They question me about this, but it's absolutely true. It's just a simple. The second stage is all that matters. It's all that matters. The first stage is nothing. The first stage just sits there. It sits in the tank, and the tank has got 3,000 psi, and this silly little valve, it only becomes a regulator when you put the other part on and take it underwater. All this valve does is take that 3,000 psi in the tank and drop that pressure down to 150 psi, roughly 150. We're going to call that intermediate pressure. We use 150 because that's a pretty common pressure, intermediate pressure. That's all it does. It doesn't do anything else. It doesn't make the breathing easier. It doesn't stop it from freezing. It doesn't give it extra. It doesn't make it. It doesn't do anything. All it does is take 3,000 psi and drop it down to 150, and it holds that little supply of 150 psi ready, so that when you're ready to take a breath through your second stage, you draw into the second stage and you get air from the 150 supply, right? That's all that does. It doesn't do anything else. The second stage is the important part. Now here's the second stage. Let me just show you quickly a second stage, show you what it looks like. I got one here I can take apart. No, not easily. Anyway, so this is the second stage. You recognize this. It goes in your mouth. The back has got exhaust ports, push button on the front. And inside, if you look inside, there's a lever, just like that. So this is the hose coming in from here. 150 psi from that stupid first stage that doesn't do anything. 150 psi comes in, and it comes in and it hits that rubber seat. I think if you zoom in there, Kevin, you'll be able to see that rubber seat right there. Am I right? Yep. And that rubber seat sits on the end of the hose. It stops the air from getting through. How does it stop the air from getting through? Well, it's pretty obvious that this is spring-loaded. Yep, right in there. Take another peek, Kev, if you can. Right in here. Underneath that nut, because there's a bolt comes through from that rubber seat. Under that nut, there's a spring. You know there's a spring. Watch. See? Spring action. There's a spring in there and a little nut on there. And that spring pushes the rubber seat against the 150 supply. Stops the air from coming through. The air can't get through, so you don't get a free flow. Just that simple. And then you put a diaphragm over it just like that. Nothing has happened yet. Now when you suck, you've seen this before. I think I've shown it to you before. When you suck on the mouthpiece, you see the diaphragm moves in. The diaphragm moves in. The diaphragm pushes against that lever. The lever pulls that rubber seat out of the way, and air comes through. So that's how it works. So what's all this about? Well, some people have said, well, my reg isn't breathing as easy as it used to. Maybe I have to tighten up the first stage and make the intermediate pressure higher. No, that's not going to work. If your rig is not breathing as easy as you would like it to, as easy as you used to, as easy as it ought to be, then you need to have the second stage. That's the second stage is adjusting. Again, that spring that's in there, that's what determines how easy it is. You see? Because when you suck in and draw that diaphragm in, you've got to draw the diaphragm in and push that lever down. What to push the lever down? Watch. Push the lever down, it takes effort. How much effort determines how hard it is to breathe. Okay, kind of making sense to you, I hope a little bit. So when you suck in, and if you, let me take this one here that I actually have the diaphragm. When you suck in on this, it's moving a lot, but you ought to be able to draw in just a little wee bit. That's so easy breathing. Hear that? I didn't draw very hard. If I want a lot of air, sure, I suck. But just if it's easy breathing, that means you draw on and the diaphragm moves just a tiny, tiny bit. And when the diaphragm moves a little wee bit, this lever is very, very sensitive. And it moves just a tiny, tiny bit and air starts to flow. If the spring setting in here is very stiff, you have to suck really hard. It's called hard breathing. So, Point of all this is that all of the easy breathing adjustments to make your reg easy or hard or whatever all come from the second stage. And all you really have to do is adjust that spring pressure. So on this particular regulator, as an example, to adjust the spring pressure, you have two ways to do that. This little tool here, this is slick. It fits on right onto there. And you see that? And there's you reach in and you're going to adjust the spring pressure. You've seen this. I have other videos. Kevin will put this on there. So you check the other videos. You turn it out a little bit to make the spring easier. Okay, well, listen. You hear that? Too far. Try it again. So you get right on the edge. Just about ready to breathe. Now you take this off, put it back on the hose with the 150 behind it. Now when you go to take a breath, so easy. That's the way it works. Easy enough. Now I think a lot of you understand that, and I can show you several of these, but within reason, every regulator, a brand spanking new Scuba Pro, U.S. Divers, that was an old Decor. Here's another U.S. Divers, a Safe Second. I've got a dozen different types of, they're all exactly the same. If you open that second stage, which in most cases, a couple are hard, in most cases is pretty easy. Some have a clamp with a screw, and some of them, the front cover, just there's a pin to lock it. You take that pin out, and then that front cover, you see that? It's a Scuba Pro. They like that system. You unscrew that front cover, take out the diaphragm, and there's a lever down there. They're all exactly the same. Well, they're not exactly the same design. They're all individual parts. But the design is exactly the same thing. Rubber diaphragm, little lever, spring pressure. That's all you have to do. Just adjust it. Just that simple. And that's what makes the regulator easy breathing. The effort, the adjustment, all in the second stage. The next video I'm going to do is going to talk about Venturis, because some of you guys are asking about Venturis. I'm going to show you several. I'm going to explain how a Venturi works, what it does, what it doesn't do, how you feel when you use a Venturi, everything else. I'm going to show you a few as well, because that also contributes to your expectations from your regulator, easy breathing or not. We'll talk about that. Anyway, there you go. Easy breathing, second stage adjustment. We'll talk some more. And go back to my other videos. I'll get Kevin to put links on for you. You'll find more information. Okay, that's it for today. Alec, Peirce Tech Tips. Talk to you soon.